The deep extract. The drilling stopped at 3:47 lunar time. Chen pressed her helmet against the observation window of mining station Sholkovsky 7, watching the massive bore arm hang motionless over shaft 7. 3 kilometers down, deeper than any previous excavation on the moon. The helium-3 deposits they'd found were unprecedented, enough to power Earth's fusion reactors for decades. After 18 months of 20-hour shifts in the cramped lunar facility, they were finally close to making history. "Martinez, why'd you shut down the drill?" she radioed, watching the status displays flicker from green to amber. Static crackled back through the comm system, followed by the sound of labored breathing. Then Martinez's voice, tight with something she couldn't identify. We hit something, Chen. You need to see this. Now." Dr. Sarah Chen had been the geological survey lead for 3 years, ever since the consortium had established their deep mining operation on the lunar far side. She'd seen every kind of mineral formation, every geological anomaly the moon had to offer, but something in Martinez's voice made her stomach clench. The elevator descent felt endless. Chen counted each 100-meter mark as they dropped past the familiar mining levels, past the ore processing stations, where automated systems sorted and refined the day's extraction, past the equipment storage bays filled with replacement drill heads and transport pods, past the emergency shelters that had never been used but were checked religiously every week. Down into the newest excavation zone, where the rock walls gleamed with an almost organic smoothness that had puzzled her for weeks. Martinez was waiting at the shaft entrance, his bulky mining suit making him look like a mechanical giant in the harsh LED lighting. His face was pale behind his visor, and she could see sweat beading on his forehead despite the suit's climate control. Behind him, the massive boar head sat silent, its diamond-tipped teeth caked with a substance that definitely wasn't lunar regolith. "Look at this," he whispered, holding up a sample container with hands that trembled slightly. The material inside moved, not the way dust or fragments should move in low gravity. It pulsed with a rhythm like breathing, like a heartbeat. The gray-black substance seemed to absorb the harsh LED lighting, creating pockets of darkness that hurt to look at directly. As Chen watched, patterns seemed to writhe within its depths, geometric shapes that suggested intelligence, purpose. "How deep when you hit it?" Chen asked, her scientific training warring with a growing sense of unease. 3.2 kilometers. The drill just stopped, like it hit something soft, something that gave way. Martinez pointed down the shaft with a jerky motion. "Chen, the temperature spiked 15 degrees in the last hour. The whole shaft is warming up from below. I think we woke something up." The first vibration came from below, a low harmonic that Chen felt in her bones rather than heard. The station's lights flickered, and somewhere in the distance, an alarm began to sound. Through the helmet comm, she could hear panicked voices from the control room 3 levels above. "Base to shaft 7, crackled Commander Okafor's voice through the radio. "We're reading massive seismic activity. Thermal readings are off the charts. What's your status down there?" Chen looked at Martinez, then at the sample container, where the dark substance had begun to glow with an inner phosphorescence that pulsed in sync with the vibrations. The whole facility was shaking now, a rhythmic tremor that made the metal walls groan. "Base," Chen said quietly into her radio. "Initiate evacuation protocol. Now." "Negative, Shaft 7. We need to know what we're dealing with first. Dr. Chen, can you identify the substance?" But even as Okafor spoke, Chen could see Martinez staring down into the shaft, his expression changing from fear to something else entirely. Wonder. Hunger. The same look she was beginning to feel on her own face as the dark substance pulsed brighter, casting shadows that seemed to move independently of their source. "It's beautiful," Martinez whispered, taking a step toward the shaft edge. Chen grabbed his arm, but her grip was weak, distracted. The substance was singing now, not audibly, but she could feel it in her mind, a wordless melody that spoke of vast ages spent in darkness, of dreams older than human civilization, of hunger finally awakened. "Martinez, step back from the shaft." But he was already moving forward, drawn by something she couldn't resist either. The container in his hand was glowing brighter, and thin tendrils of the dark substance were beginning to seep through the supposedly airtight seal. Chen, Martinez, report! Okafor's voice was distant, irrelevant. The substance reached Martinez's gloves first. Chen watched in fascination as it spread across the suit's surface, like living metal, conforming to every curve and joint. Where it touched, the suit's fabric seemed to become more than it had been. Stronger, more flexible, almost alive. I can feel it, Martinez said, his voice dreamy. It's been waiting so long. It knows about us, Chen. It knows about Earth. That's when Chen realized with perfect, terrible clarity that they weren't the ones who had found something in the deep lunar rock. Something had found them, and it had been planning this moment for far longer than humanity had existed. The substance flowed up Martinez's suit like liquid mercury, but Chen could see it wasn't just coating the surface, it was integrating, becoming part of the fabric itself. Where it passed, the suit's diagnostics showed impossible readings: increased strength, enhanced environmental protection, neural interface connections that shouldn't exist. Martinez, fight it, she commanded, but her voice lacked conviction. The singing in her mind was growing stronger, and she found herself taking slow steps toward the shaft. Why would I fight it? Martinez turned to face her, and Chen gasped. His eyes had changed, becoming deeper, darker, filled with swirling patterns that matched the substance. It's offering us everything, Chen. Evolution, purpose, the ability to survive anywhere, do anything. Through the facility's speakers, she could hear chaos erupting in the control room. Alarms blared as the mining station systems began to fail one by one. But down in Shaft 7, everything felt calm, purposeful. The others need to see, Martinez said, and Chen noticed that his voice carried harmonics that hadn't been there before. This isn't an invasion, Chen. It's an invitation. The substance began flowing out of the container in earnest now, spreading across the floor in complex patterns that reminded Chen of neural networks or circuit boards. Where it touched the facility's walls, lights flickered and died, then came back brighter, more efficient. The whole mining station was being improved. Shaft 7, this is your final warning. Okafor's voice crackled through increasing static. Evacuate immediately or we're sealing the section. Chen looked up at the ceiling, where she knew blast doors waited to cut them off from the rest of the facility. Part of her knew she should run, should escape while she still could. But the larger part, the part that was already touching the substance that had somehow reached her boots, whispered that running was pointless. Too late, she said into her radio, and was surprised to hear her voice carrying the same harmonic undertones as Martinez's. We're all connected now. Above them, the mining station fell silent as its lights went out section by section. But down in the depths of Shaft 7, everything glowed with a soft, beautiful radiance that pulsed in rhythm with two hearts that were no longer entirely human. And far below, something vast and patient began its slow journey toward the surface, toward the transport ships that would carry it home to Earth.